And with that, we say hello and welcome to CBS Sports HQ, presented by Jeep Grand Cherokee, alongside former NBA Coach of the Year Avery Johnson, CBS Sports insider Gary Parrish, and Director of Scouting for 24/7 Sports Adam Finkelstein. I am Hakeem Dermish. NBA Draft Night, one of the biggest nights in sports, and it delivered a surprise at the top. Duke freshman Paolo Banchero drafted #1 overall by the Orlando Magic. Now, all week long, Auburn freshman Jabari Smith had been the favorite to hear his name first, but the odds changed in Banchero's favor. Consider he was plus 1,000 on Sunday to go first overall. He closed at minus 130. Banchero, a polished scorer who is NBA ready, looking to make an instant impact with the Orlando Magic. So Paolo goes #1 overall, followed by Chet Holmgren to the Oklahoma City Thunder, followed by Jabari Smith, third overall to the Rockets. Keegan Murray to the Kings, not Jaden Ivey. Jaden Ivey goes to Detroit. Benedict Mathurin to the Pacers. Shaedon Sharpe to the Portland Trailblazers. Dyson Daniels out of the G League Ignite headed to New Orleans. Jeremy Sohan headed to San Antonio. And Johnny Davis, the uber-talented kid out of Wisconsin, headed to Washington with the 10th overall pick. All right, so Paolo goes #1 overall, not Jabari Smith, your guy. What's your reaction to what happened at the top here on draft night?
I'm still okay with it. I would have taken Jabari Smith, and if not for Jabari Smith, I was taking Chet Holmgren. But again, Paolo Banchero going first, you're looking at a guy with an NBA body that's ready to go. He can play multiple positions. He's really good at handling the ball, creating shots. He's a very underrated passer. And I think this had more to do with the current existing roster of the Orlando Magic and how does he fit into that mix. You got guys like Wendell Carter that's on the roster. You got a lot of durable bigs, but you needed somebody that can set themselves apart. I guess they felt if they brought in Jabari Smith, they'll have something similar to what they already have. Maybe they felt Chet Holmgren's body isn't ready to play the type of minutes that they need him to play day one. But I'm okay with this. All three of these young men could have easily gone first. I would have gone with Jabari Smith or Chet Holmgren, but the Orlando Magic still has an outstanding player with a bright future that I believe is still going to be a perennial all-star.
Still get an A+ here?
Yeah, because I always believe that any of the top three guys were reasonable options at the top of this draft. And Orlando, as a franchise, has basically lived in the lottery. You know, it's one top 5 pick after another. And the truth is they've missed on a lot of them, or at least the guys haven't yet developed into anything notable in the NBA. And on some level, it looks like they decided with this pick, let's just get the sure thing.
Yeah, I think that's exactly right. This is the safest pick on the board. Even when we projected him to go #3, we thought he was the odds-on favorite to be the NBA Rookie of the Year. And you know who I think the winner is in this scenario? All three of those kids, because I think they all go to the place where they fit best. Paolo can step right in Orlando and be the guy. I think Chet at OKC, he's going to become the front court anchor where they already have some perimeter prospects to build around. And then you have Jabari at Houston, where he becomes the 1-2 punch with Jalen Green, giving that defensive complement and floor spacer to a dynamic attacking guard. So I think it worked out really well for those three guys.
And maybe we're going to have to tell Jabari Smith that he actually won because his body language and his lack of excitement and enthusiasm with being selected third wasn't there initially.
Well, think about this. As of this afternoon, he was the favorite in the betting markets to go #1, and then he went third.
Mm-hmm.
That's not a normal thing.
And he didn't even work out for them. He only worked out for the first two teams. This was unthinkable a day ago.
It really did feel like, as recently as this afternoon, there was no scenario where Jabari Smith went lower than 2 and probably was going 1. So I can understand not just being disappointed, but a little shell shocked. Like, whoa, what just happened? You know, he might have been looking at houses in Orlando on some level. So, once this wears off and the shock of the moment captured on live television is a little bit in the distance, he'll look up and realize he's in a really good spot.
How big of a target is on his back from Duke, #1 overall, jump Jabari Smith to hear his name first?
Huge target. But I think this kid is made for it. I think physically, when you're built the way this kid is built, we haven't seen this since, LeBron James, this type of physical specimen. And he proved that he can play at a high level. I believe, as we've shared before, that he's going to play with an even more chip on his shoulder because he felt in some ways, and he's talked about it, like he let Coach K down when they lost that last game at Cameron Indoor to North Carolina, lost in the Final Four to North Carolina, which ended Coach K's tenure and sent them off into retirement. So I think this kid's going to play with a chip on his shoulder, and I believe he's going to be one of the leading candidates in the clubhouse to potentially be Rookie of the Year.
Well, the decision to take Paolo Banchero #1 overall did not change what the Thunder decided to do. They take Chet Holmgren with the 2nd overall pick. And Gary, you said if you were in the Magic front office, you would have taken Chet 1st overall. Why?
I think he's got the most upside / potential of anybody who was available to be selected in this draft. There are probably more questions about him than there are about Paolo Banchero, but if he develops into what I can very easily envision, we're talking about an all-star level guy. You see it here. He can bounce it and get to the rim. Really, play in a way that most people his size cannot play. And then he's an incredible rim protector. Like, that's the sure thing about him. He's going to rim protect. The other stuff, if you want to ask questions about it or be skeptical, I'll listen to it. But I'm a believer. He was a great high school player who was a great college player. His body might end up being a problem, but it has never been a problem to this point. And the truth is, small bodies are rarely a problem for anybody. Skinny bodies in the NBA. Big bodies, heavy bodies, that can become an issue. But I don't know too many players who didn't become great. And when you try to figure out why, you go, well, he was just too skinny.
7 feet, 195. Any concerns for you, Adam?
No, skinny, not soft. I think he's going to put on muscle. Never going to be the strongest guy out there, at least in terms of bulk, but he's going to compete with everybody. And that combination of size, skill, elite rim protecting ability, and the finishing on top of it, that's the thing. If he's so skinny, why is he so impactful inside the paint on both ends of the floor in terms of being a finisher and a rim protector? And then you've got a guy who can dribble, pass, and shoot, stretch the floor, start the break. I mean, to me, I completely agree with GP on this one. Highest upside in the draft.
I wouldn't draft him if, I'm running a football franchise and I needed a defensive lineman. But that's not what we're doing.
No.
He's a basketball player. This is basketball.
And you play with some Hall of Fame bigs. David Robinson, Tim Duncan. You just go throw the ball up for Chet Holmgren. And defensively, he was WCC Defensive Player of the Year. This kid will just block all day long, throw himself a mini block party.
Yeah, and those guys are retired. He's not playing against David Robinson,
No,
Tim Duncan, or Shaquille O'Neal, or Hakeem Olajuwon, or Patrick Ewing. This is a different brand of basketball. This is about freedom of movement. We have more bigs handling the ball now historically than in any point in NBA history. The one thing that's transferable, when you can block shots, there were plays this year where Chet Holmgren went from guarding his man on the post, and then they swung it to another teammate that they thought was open underneath the basket. He went and blocked the shot, grabbed the ball. He didn't block it out of bounds. He grabbed the shot after he blocked it and dribbled the ball up the court and made a play. That's rare. I would love to be his coach and to have problems discussing his body. When you have problems with your body is when you're overweight.
There you go.
When you out-eat your diet.
Yeah, we saw that, and no disrespect to Zion Williamson, but we saw that. We saw how that played.
Yeah, at this point, how about this? I'm more concerned about Zion Williamson's body than I am Chet Holmgren's.
That says a lot. That says a lot. Certainly development for Chet Holmgren. He heads to Oklahoma City. So Jabari Smith, again, he falls to 3 to the Houston Rockets. Adam, what are the Rockets getting in Jabari Smith? Really, I'm sure they're happy with this, the fact that he fell to them.
I think they are getting a two-way player who fits the modern-day NBA. At 6'10", he has become not just a consistent spot-up shooter, but a tough shot maker. He's also evolved more over the course of his freshman year in college than either Paolo or Chet, not just athletically, but also in terms of his skill set. He got significantly better in the last season. He projects as a versatile defender, somebody who's going to be able to guard 3s and 4s, move his feet on the perimeter, be switchable. I think everything about him fits the modern-day NBA.
All right, the Kings took Keegan Murray with the 4th pick, and Detroit snagged Jaden Ivey with the 5th pick and acquired Jalen Duren in a 3-team trade involving the Knicks and Hornets. Gary, what did you think of Detroit's first-round haul of Jaden and Jalen?
That's terrific. Yeah. I mean, you get arguably the best sophomore in the country and one of the best freshmen in the country. Two guys that, if they become the best versions of themselves, and that's always the trick. You know, you never know that for sure on draft night, unless you're talking about somebody like LeBron James or Anthony Davis. Like, it was pretty clear what they were going to be. You know, for most players, it's open for debate. But if Jalen Duren becomes what Jalen Duren's biggest fans think he can become, and Jaden Ivey becomes what Jaden Ivey's biggest fans believe he can become, you put that with Cade Cunningham in Detroit, and boy, you got a special young core that projects as something that could theoretically someday compete for world titles.
And the thing I go to is this. Jaden Ivey was in tears of joy to be selected by Detroit. That has not been the case in years past.
No.
How many players have we seen?
You'd be crying because you're going there.
Exactly. And how many players have we seen do to Detroit what he did to Sacramento tonight and leverage them out of taking them? Jaden Ivey wants to be in Detroit. He wants to play next to Cade Cunningham, and for good reason, because the dynamic athleticism he provides in the backcourt, that explosiveness, that change of pace, that power, it is the perfect complement for what Cade Cunningham brings. That poise, that intelligence, that playmaking, that change of pace. Those two guys next to each other, growing next to each other for the next decade, that is an absolute home run.
Pistons fans rejoicing.
Oh, they're
all over.
rejoicing. They're not saying, going back to the Isaiah Thomas and microwave Vinnie Johnson days, but this is an outstanding pick. This kid, if I was the Sacramento Kings, independent of how his agent tried to negotiate him out of this pick, I would have still taken him and dealt with it later. But Jaden Ivey was crying tears of joy. You know, mom is a basketball coach, come from a long lineage of players, family members that participated in sports at a high level. Perfect fit. I know Cade Cunningham. I've received some intel that he is thrilled about this pick. And you got a backcourt now that can, for the next 7, 8, 9, 10 years, barring any injuries, that can play at a high level where they can complement one another. And one of the things in the NBA that's so underrated right now, I know is talk about three-point shooting, it's scoring in transition. This kid can really, he's a blur in transition. Body's a little bit different from Ja Morant. I think he'll be a little bit more durable. I'm excited for the Detroit Pistons fans.
You know who else is excited about what the Detroit Pistons did? A guy that went 7th overall in 1999 out of UConn. Rip Hamilton helped the Pistons win the NBA championship in 2004. Rip joining us now. Rip, your reaction here to the Pistons' first-round haul landing Jaden and Jalen.
Hey, I'm super excited for the organization. I mean, we got J and J right now. That's what I'm calling them right now. I was super surprised that Jaden Ivey actually slipped to the number 5 pick. I mean, this guy is once in a generation type talent. I think he pairs well with Cade Cunningham, like you guys alluded to. Cade is a player that makes all the right plays. He's kind of got that LeBron James type of game when playing at the point guard position, that he's going to make the right play. If a guy's up ahead, he's going to throw it up. And I think that's what we were lacking last year. When he did pass the ball up, especially in transition, we didn't have a guy that can actually make a play for himself, but also make a play for somebody else. Now you add Ivey into the mix. I mean, this is a great 1-2 punch for years to come. When you look at the history of our organization, I mean, we always had great backcourts. So I think this is a big, huge asset to add him and to add Duran to the organization. A physical guy. I got to see him work out in the pro workouts with the Wasserman group, and he's just not a physical specimen. At first, I thought he was more of like a Dwight Howard type of player, but this guy he has a great touch. He can be in dribble handoff. He's very mobile on the floor. He's very active. His energy is second to none. So I just believe these are 2 great picks. They fit the Detroit Pistons mold, and the Pistons fans are going to be incredibly excited to have these 2 guys on their roster.
Yeah, Jaden and Jalen, the 2 J's there. Jaden Ivey listed at plus 550 win Rookie of the Year, Rip. How do those odds sound? Maybe a little value here with Jaden Ivey to win Rookie of the Year in Detroit.
I love it because when watching him this summer, especially working out in the gym, the one thing that I was most impressed with, especially in a social media era, where when kids get in the gym and there's a lot of cameras, guys tend to play harder than they would when no one's in the gym. I got an opportunity to see him when nobody was in the gym, and he attacked every drill like it was his last. You can see his emotion, especially in the draft. He wanted to be in Detroit. And like you guys alluded to, when you got a guy that wants to be there and is super as passionate as he is, good things can happen. So I think we're all super excited. I think the fans are really excited to have him a part of the ball club.
Hey, Rip, thanks for making time for us here. Appreciate having your perspective here. A big night for Detroit, certainly a proud moment for the Pistons, and I know the fans are pumped there in Detroit as they try to get things going with Cade Cunningham, and you add Jaden, Ivey, and Jalen Duren. As we take a look at the odds to win the 2023 Rookie of the Year, it's Paolo Banchero and Jabari Smith as the co-favorites at plus 350, followed by Ivey at plus 550, and Chet Holmgren there, same odds. Keegan Murray plus 900, and Benedict Mathurin at plus 1,000. Avery, you look at this board here. Who would be your pick to win Rookie of the Year next season?
Wow, if this was a horse race, I'll say by nose, I'll take Jabari Smith. And I just think, he's going to have an opportunity to get more attempts up. That's what's going to translate. More attempts. I believe he's going to be more efficient. And I also see him posting up a little bit more. Even in his rookie year in the NBA, he needs to get inside. My comparison is Kevin Garnett, not Kevin Durant. I think he's going to be more of that type of a power forward with some better range, a little bit more range than Kevin Garnett displayed in his career. But that long linkedness, he'll be able to switch some pick and rolls. I think he's going to get some steals because he is a really good switch guy. So I'm leaning towards Jabari Smith as my.
He's going to be a Hall of Famer?
Yes.
Kevin Garnett-esque?
Yes.
Wow.
Yes.
Shoot, if you're on the Rockets right now.
Did you see me stutter?
No, you did not. I just want to make sure that I recapped that for the people watching. That's some high praise there. Okay.
Come see me in about 15 years.
Well, you're quite the prognosticator, so I trust your predictions. Your pick.
I said it consistently for weeks now. I didn't care where Paolo Banchero was picked. I would pick him to be the Rookie of the Year just because I think he's the most ready-made to be impactful at the NBA level, like tonight. If they, for some reason, decided to start the NBA season tonight, he'd fit in. He will not be bothered physically. Most rookies are to some level. He won't be bothered physically at all. He's a big, strong, skilled guy, and I think he'll have the numbers. And a lot of times, Rookie of the Year, it's a numbers game. Don't ever forget Tyreke Evans beat Steph Curry for Rookie of the Year once upon a time because he scored a lot of points. Paulo's going to post numbers as a rookie, and I think ultimately he'll hold that Rookie of the Year trophy.
Yeah, I'm the same. I'm on record for several weeks now as saying I think Paolo is the future Rookie of the Year. I will say, though, to your point about the opportunity in Houston, Coach, I liked Paolo's chances of being the Rookie of the Year better in Houston than I do in Orlando. He's going to have to share the ball a little bit more. There's more weapons, more mouths to feed in that Magic rotation, but I'm still going with Paolo. I think he's got the highest floor in this draft, and he's the most NBA ready of the high lottery picks.
Give me Ochai Agbaji. He's not even on the board. I'm kidding. That's my Cleveland homerism.
No surprise.
Right? The Cleveland homerism right there. All right, let's stay in Brooklyn here. Some news on Thursday. Kyrie Irving has given the Nets a list of teams he would consider a sign and trade with if he doesn't reach a deal with Brooklyn. That's according to an ESPN report. The list of teams includes the Lakers, Clippers, Mavs, Heat, Sixers, and Knicks. Kyrie has a June 29th deadline. That's next week to either opt in or decline his $36.5 million player option for the upcoming season. Meantime, Kevin Durant mulling his future with the organization. I mean, this feels like a mess right now, Gary. What do you make of this situation?
Doesn't just feel like a mess. It is a mess. I mean, keep in mind, they were trying to build a championship contender with Kevin Durant, Kyrie Irving, and James Harden. And at one point, with that core, they were the betting favorites to win the 2023 NBA title. And then Kyrie will not get vaccinated, so that causes not only problems on the court, but I think problems in the locker room. Those guys go to work every day. Coach can speak to this. He was in those locker rooms. They all said mostly the right stuff publicly, but you'll never convince me Kevin Durant, James Harden, and other guys weren't frustrated by the Kyrie Irving situation that would not allow him to play home games for much of this season. We're working every night. We need you. What are you doing? that seemed to cause something between him and James Harden. So then Harden decided, hey, I don't want to be here anymore. Sounded good under different circumstances, but this ain't for me. They trade him for Ben Simmons, who doesn't play basketball anymore. I imagine he will again at some point, but he hasn't for Brooklyn yet. And if you're Kevin Durant, you're like, what did I do to my career to end up in this situation? So if Kyrie's not going to be here and James not going to be here, maybe I don't need to be here either. I don't know how Brooklyn gets out of this in a good spot.
I just think this is a situation when you're dealing with one of your friends and you convince them to join the organization. So it's Kevin Durant. He went to Brooklyn because he knew Kyrie Irving was going to come to Brooklyn. But it's not just joining together, but it's also, can I trust you?
Right.
Are you going to be loyal? How is our communication? Are you going to have that type of caring about winning and playing together, as we talked about prior to embarking on this mission to join forces with the Brooklyn Nets? I actually really feel bad for Kevin Durant because, here it was a situation where they created the new big three with he and you talk about James Harden and also now Kyrie Irving. And now Kyrie's saying, I'm going to give you a list of teams just in case I want to move on. Well, what's happening with Kevin Durant in all of this? And what's going to happen with Kevin Durant if Kyrie Irving finds himself traded in a sign-in trade or signing with another team?
And part of the issue here is that Brooklyn doesn't want to commit long-term to him. But why would you? I wouldn't. And I know that Kevin Durant and Kyrie Irving came to Brooklyn as friends, like incredibly talented humans, but also friends. That's part of this. If I'm Kevin Durant, you're not my friend anymore. You would put me in a bad spot. I'm going to find new friends.
Coach, you know who I feel bad for? I feel bad for Sean Marks. Because he came there, he built a culture. Kenny Atkinson was the head coach. He was getting the players better. They were a team that was one of the most competitive night in and night out. They were building that reputation. And then what do? You're in that situation where you say, hey, you can get three of the best players in the NBA. I don't know how you say no to that in his shoes, but I think he went into it eyes wide open, but still felt like he had no other choice. And now what's the aftermath of that? They've had to sacrifice so much of their future in terms of future assets, and I don't know where they go after this.
And I think they were trying to catch lightning in a bottle with all of this, with bringing in Steve Nash to try to see if he could have the same success Steve Kerr had with taking over a veteran Golden State team, and it just hasn't worked.
Well, it was Kyrie who said we didn't even need a head coach,
which was a red flag,
right?
Obviously,
I mean, this goes down as a situation. It's woulda, coulda, shoulda. What could have been? They only played in 16 games together. They were supposed to win this year's NBA title in 2022. Yeah. It got blown up. And it's over. I mean, this three of the best athletes we've ever seen in NBA history teaming up together, and it just got blown up in everybody's face in Brooklyn because this was going to be a championship season, and it just, to me, it just didn't work because, and Tim Doyle predicted that this wouldn't work because of all of the personalities and guys wanting to have the basketball in their hands and saying that, look, this situation looks great on paper, but I don't know how it's going to work out in the locker room.
Well, I think Adam makes a good point about, if you're the Brooklyn front office, it's very easy to sit here now and say, look what you did.
Yeah.
But they created a thing that was projected to win a championship. Mm-hmm. How do you say no to that? I've had these conversations with college basketball coaches sometimes who, take, let's say, 3 5-star guys and they're super young and it's like, okay, well, we got all this talent and then it just doesn't work. And it's like, well, how was I supposed to say no to these 5-star prospects?
The Celtics did the same thing.
Right.
They created the cap space. They got the assets. They made the trade for Kyrie. It wasn't working.
Right.
And then they had to try and pivot and get out of it. Fortunately, they had Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown.
Right.
I don't think Ben Simmons is that guy for the Nets.
No.
Again, Kyrie has a June 29th deadline to either opt in or decline his $36.5 million player option for the upcoming season. June 29th coming fast and furious next week for Brooklyn and for Kyrie Irving. Hey, for more on the NBA draft, join Gary Parrish and Matt Norlander on the Ion College Basketball Podcast, a full wrap-up of the NBA draft. The Ion College Basketball Podcast. Download and subscribe today.
Do you want a sports network that delivers everything that matters about the game? The highlights, the picks, the instant analysis, no yelling, no fake debates, no politics. Hit the subscribe button and never miss a moment.